When it comes to performance and exercise and sports, timing is everything. And not just in terms of training schedules and tactics, but nutrition obviously plays a critical role in your performance. And the timing of nutrient intake can significantly impact the body's ability to perform and recover. A deeper understanding of how the body converts food to energy and the timing involved can help you enhance your athletic performance, and what we're covering today on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast.
Welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast
with Garrett Williamson.
Health, wellness, exercise, nutrition, and a whole lot more. Got questions? Call us and leave a message at 251-278-EDGE or message us at Personal Edge Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, at Team PE on Twitter, or personaledgefitness.com.
Good day and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. My name is Garrett Williamson, president of Personal Edge Fitness. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about nutrient timing as it relates to exercise and fitness. If you have any questions about this podcast, and this is actually where we got this podcast from a listener, Mitch, thank you so much for sending this one to us. You have any questions about this one or any other, or any concerns about dispelling the myths of health, fitness, and wellness, please contact us, area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach out to me at my email address, which is Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. That is also our website and our Facebook page, Personal Edge Fitness. Hit me up on Twitter if you're so inclined, at Team PE on Twitter. The human body converts food into energy through what a lot of people think is a complex process called metabolism. It's really not that complex. It's complex in the body, but it's not this weird thing that works in different ways in different people. It really isn't. It's basically calories in, calories out. But what actually happens is a lot of different processes going on in the body. This is going to be a look into how this happens in typical time frames, especially for proteins and carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates, they're the body's preferred source of immediate energy. Upon ingestion, carbohydrate-rich foods are broken down into glucose, which is a type of sugar the body uses for energy. This is something that is immediately used. It's broken down to glucose. Glucose is there. It's the gasoline ready to go. It's what your body runs off of, is that broken down carbohydrates and fuel for the body. But any glucose that isn't immediately needed is stored in the liver and muscles as glycogen. So it's kind of ready energy there. Now, if you take in way too overabundance, it's stored as fat. It takes about 1 to 4 hours for carbohydrates to be digested and absorbed as glucose. Now, this time frame, it depends on the type of carbohydrates. You've probably heard of simple sugars, which are absorbed quickly. We'll get into that in just a second. And then there's complex carbohydrates, which take longer due to their fiber content. But also, complex carbohydrates help sustain your satiety, your hey, I'm full, I've had enough, longer because of the fiber content. Proteins are different. They have a more complex digestive process and are not typically the body's first choice of energy, and you really don't want it to be, because proteins are broken down into amino acids, and the body primarily uses this for tissue repair and growth, and that's what you want your protein being used for. However, during periods of intense exercise, or more importantly, insufficient caloric intake, your body will actually use protein for energy. And I don't recommend this. I see this in too many clients that don't take in enough calories because they're trying to maintain a certain weight, and they can't understand why they're not getting stronger. Well, it's because they're not taking enough calories. Therefore, their protein has to be used for energy. Therefore, it cannot be used to not just build muscle, but they can't be used to maintain muscle. And that's why we have that backward effect of decreasing ability that we associate with time passing on a calendar. It has nothing to do with time passing on a calendar. It has to do with nutrient intake. This process of protein being used for energy is called gluconeogenesis. And it's something that I'd really rather you just stay away from. But the digestion and absorption of protein typically takes longer than carbohydrates. Usually it takes between 2 to 6 hours, and typically is the reason why you feel tired after a meal, because it takes a lot of work to break that protein down. But let's look at some nutritional recommendations for exercise. All right, given these timelines, it becomes very clear that the timing of nutrient intake can significantly influence performance and recovery. All right, here's some general recommendations. If you're looking at days prior to an exercise event, and the days leading up to an intense exercise event, a strategy we've known since the 80s called carbohydrate loading is often employed. The problem is that most of us associate with that with the pasta meal that comes before the 5K. Actually, it needs to be a week or so before, you start slowly increasing your amount of carbohydrates. Not just massive amounts, but slowly start increasing your carbohydrate intake at least 3 days before, if not as much as a week, depending on the event. If you're running a marathon, you need to be loading up at least a week before. There's been several studies about this, and some of the earliest were back in the 80s. A study led by Dr. Sherman and Dr. Kostel in the Journal of Applied Physiology actually came out in 1981 and demonstrated the effectiveness of this method of carbo loading in enhancing endurance performance. Now, protein should also be part of your diet, but should not be the primary focus as far as energy is concerned. Now, you still want to take in protein. You don't want to 86 your protein because you want to be able to maintain muscle, if not build muscle, at least maintain it. Remember, your body's going through that systems check on a daily basis. It's looking at repairing the muscle, even though, I didn't do a workout. I didn't break any muscle down. You walked to the mailbox. You broke you tore some fibers. Your body's going to do that systems check. It needs that protein there. So even if you're getting ready for your event and you're thinking about that energy and sustaining the energy through the event, make sure you're still taking in that protein. As I always say, every meal, every day. Balanced meals with carbohydrates, moderate protein, and some healthy fats. Again, some extra energy there. That's generally recommended. I highly recommend that. What about during the event? What about foods for quick energy? That's a question we get quite often. Well, for sustained energy during the event, easily digestible carbohydrates are the key. Now, according to a study published in the Journal of Sports Sciences in 2011 by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Jukendrup, said that consuming carbohydrates during exercise can improve endurance performance, and he recommended foods like bananas, raisins, or energy gels. And another one I recommend if you like the all-natural approach are dates. They are a tremendous amount of energy. I know of exercisers that take dates in prior to a workout, just 2 or 3 dates, and that's all they have, just to get them enough energy to get through the workout. Highly recommend that. And of course, the energy gels, there's tons of them on the market. There's some that are my favorite, but I don't even mention them. The reason being is that you may have a favorite, and generally most of those gels, if they're from a reputable company, Hammer Nutrition, Power Bar, these companies, there's several more. That's not a bad way to go. And it's also really easy and accessible. But don't discount those natural ones. I mean, bananas is one of the best. You also have the potassium in there in case you're prone to cramp. Recent research continues to underline the importance of carbohydrate intake for endurance performance. So not just ones from the studies from the 80s, but a 2020 study by a team led by Dr. Impey in the Journal of Applied Physiology demonstrated that even short-term increased carbohydrate intake could improve performance. I think most everybody knows this, but you'd be kind of surprised. 2 Summer Olympics ago, the U.S. had the top female mountain biker. They knew she was going to win the gold, but she was adamant. She always did her workouts and everything without taking in any food. Well, guess what happened? Towards the end of the race, she gassed out, lost all her energy, and less effective, less athletic athletes passed her, strictly because she ran out of energy. For protein now, a 2017 study reviewed by Dr. Thomas and his colleagues in the Journal of International Society of Sports Nutrition emphasized the importance of protein intake, not just for recovery, but also for adaptations to training. All right, what were they talking about there? Well, easy. Adaptations to training. All right, well, think about it. What are you doing when you're doing your training? Well, you're probably increasing. You're increasing the distance. You're increasing the weight. You're increasing your speed. You're increasing something. Well, how do you get those increases? Well, you just keep doing it over and over again. Right, okay, that's what you do to get there, but what is actually happening? Well, your body is becoming more efficient in many ways. One of the things it's doing, it's gaining muscle. It is gaining muscle. Another way it's doing is, of course, shedding fat. But as we start to gain muscle, well, we need the building blocks for it. So when they're talking about increasing adaptations to training, they're talking about having, first and foremost, the adequate number of calories. Remember what I said earlier? If your body does not have enough calories, your body's first job is to keep the body moving. So if it doesn't have enough calories, no matter how much, I'm not going to feed my body, I'm going to starve it, and I'm going to maintain my muscle. No, you are not. This was made famous, believe it or not, indirectly, by the quote from Slim Fast in their marketing that they did years ago, give us a week and we'll take off the weight. Yeah, of course. If you looked at Slim Fast at the time, didn't have any protein in it. So you may have actually increased fat, but you lost weight because you lost muscle. So first and foremost, making sure you have enough calories in there. Then making sure you're having a good balance of carbohydrates and protein in order to maintain your energy level while not sacrificing your muscle. That's what protein takes care of. And the protein can be used to maintain and or build muscle, enhancing your performance as long as you've got enough calories in there and you've got enough carbohydrates in there. I always said that you need so many carbohydrates to synthesize the protein. That's what I'm talking about. quote-unquote synthesized protein, allow the protein to be used for maintaining muscle. So the carbohydrate loading that we talked about for years in the 80s is still a good thing. The practice of it, like many things, like I use Olympic lifting all the time. Lifting is tremendous, a fantastic practice. So the ergonomics to correct Olympic lifting are things that you do every single day. I love it when I have somebody come in and tell me that my doctor said that I should never squat again. And I would always say, well, how do you sit down? Because that's a squat. But like dynamic stretching, like Olympic lifting, like in nutrition, the practice of it can get bastardized, can be done wrong. Therefore, everybody throws it out. And carbo loading is something that was done wrong, so a lot of people are throwing it out. No. Carbo loading is still important. Just doing it over across a few days. If it's a longer event, you're doing a marathon, you're doing an Ironman, maybe you're playing tennis and you've got a tournament and you're going to be playing a couple matches that day. I would definitely highly recommend carbo loading even if you only have one match. But you want to start that 3 or 4 days in advance. Another thing that it does, it actually allows your body to start learning how you're going to fuel it. Therefore, it learns how to make the fuel effective. If you try to do that day before, you've just shocked the system. But if you do it 3 days, 4 days, a week before, even longer than that, if you're slowly building up the carbohydrates. And then making sure that during the event, you've got that ready energy there. I said earlier, dates. They're fantastic. But if not dates, then raisins, then bananas, the energy gels. Making sure you're having those, and typically doing sustained exercise, you're going to need about 90 to 100 calories every 30 minutes. Now, I'm using a very general estimate here because it depends on the body size and what have you. It could be more. But many endurance athletes have a timer on their watch that goes off. If they're biking during a triathlon, they have a timer going off on the watch telling them when to feed. And exercise, remember, exercise is also an appetite suppressant. So many times I'll have athletes tell me, well, I would have taken my gel, but I wasn't hungry. I was feeling fine. Of course you were. It doesn't mean your body doesn't need the energy. It's an appetite suppressant. Exercise is actually a form of fight or flight. And so a lot of your systems shut down, tighten up, what have you. And so one of the things that happens is digestion shuts down. And so you don't feel the need to eat. At those point in times, you definitely still want to take in that ready energy. But the last thing I will say, this question was asked how you need to feed and how soon your body uses those calories, those carbohydrates, what have you. But I also felt that at the core of the question was, I want to increase my energy level or I want to maintain my energy level. Well, remember, one of the most important ways, especially doing sustained exercise, but definitely in everyday life, to increase your energy level, you know I'm going to say it. Water. Keeping that water intake up. I'm not going to go very long before I talk about water. You know that. But remember, that affects the viscosity of your blood, which actually thins it a little bit. Now, it's not a blood thinner. If you don't have enough water in your system, your blood becomes thicker. And it makes it harder for all your organs to work because all your organs work off of blood flow. And so if everything is working a little bit harder, it's going to make you more tired. It's just like, think about how tired you feel after having a good-sized meal, especially with a meal with the red meat in it or a heavy protein. You're going to feel tired afterwards. Everybody knows that's digestion going on. That's your system working to break those calories down, breaking that food down, and it makes you tired. Why does it make you tired? Because your energy systems inside your body are working so hard. Well, if you have a low amount of water, you're not taking in the recommended amount, which of course is 100 ounces a day. If you're not taking the recommended amount, it's going to slow all your functions down, make it that much harder, and therefore it's going to lower your energy level. So, I'm always going to put an exclamation point on it by using water. But you want to increase your energy level? Guaranteed. If you're not taking in 100 ounces of water a day, every single day, every day of your life, even National Don't Drink Water Day, that day too, I promise you can increase your energy level just by taking in water. If you have any more questions, because I did this very generally, but if you have any deeper questions about the timing and use of fuel, please contact me at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach out to me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. That's our website and our Facebook page. Hit me up on Twitter at TeamPE if you're so inclined. I encourage you to pay attention to nutrition. It's a large part of what you do. You don't have to do that deep dive that everybody's trying to push for. As far as nutrition is concerned, it's much better to be consistently good than it is to be occasionally perfect. And if you have any questions concerning health, fitness, and wellness, especially the one just like Mitch had. Mitch had a question about this, contacted us. We'll be glad to cover it here on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast because we are here to help you reach your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Subscribe now and be a part of the show by calling 888-278-EDGE or message us on Facebook and Instagram at Personal Edge Fitness or at Team PE on Twitter, and visit us at personaledgefitness.com.